Hey, it's Pastor Samuel. I want to welcome you to the Birmingham First Church of the Nazarene Midweek Bible Study, and I'm going to jump straight in. There is a question that many of us have asked in our brains. We might never utter this question in a sanctuary or even out loud, but here it goes. Jesus, do you really care about my problems? Like I said, it's a question we'll never ask out loud and probably never in a sanctuary, but one that might always pop up in the back of our heads. See, this world, it's filled with problems. There are a lot of big fish that seem to be swimming around. Nation that is against nation. And not only nation against nation, there are problems within one nation. And these problems seem to be long suffering. Some of them started before we even got here on earth. And the way they're going, unless Jesus comes back soon, it looks like they're going to be here after we're gone. Big problems, ones that have generational impact, and it just seems so big. And I think about my problems. They're the center of my world, but compared to those things, those just seem like little minnows, right, swimming around. And you think about it, Jesus, do you care? Do you see me? What about my problems? I've got good news for you today. Christ is seeing you now. Jesus sees you. He knows the details of your problems. He knows your problems more than you do, and He cares about your problem more than you do. Okay? So Christ has the power today to address individuals and their problems. There is no problem too big or too small for Jesus to handle. That's what we're talking about when we're saying Christ has power. It's the Lion's Gospel, the Gospel of Mark, and the Gospel of Mark is a gospel of power. We're going to be reading from Mark chapter 5, and we're going to start in verse 24. As you guys are flipping there to Mark chapter 5, verse 24, I'll give you guys a little bit of a scene. Jesus just lands off of a boat, and he's into this land, and when he gets to the land, there's a man named Jairus. He's this really important official, a big fish in a little pond, and he says, "My daughter is sick, Jesus, and we've got a problem. Could you come with me right now? Because if you lay hands on her, I know she's going to be made well." And so Jesus agrees, and as he's on his way to this official's house, a crowd starts to form around Jesus because they sense there's something different about this rabbi. They've probably heard stories about his teaching or his miracles, the way that he was able to go to the Gerasenes and change the mind of a demoniac where now he's dressed and in his right mind. And they probably all heard the stories about how pigs jumped off cliffs when Christ showed up on the scene. And they know He has a power to Him unlike anything they've experienced. And as the crowd starts going around Him, everybody is shoulder to shoulder. And it's like a big concert because Jesus is there. And Jesus says, "Oh, stop everything. Somebody touched my robe." And His disciples looked around Him, and the crowd looked at Him, and He's like, "Yeah, Jesus, like 50 people did, man. We're in the middle of a big crowd." And He says, No. I mean, somebody touched I feel a power released from me, a healing power. I feel a power gone from me now. And everything stops. It's like all of the big fish of that time stood still. It's like a lake that got frozen over, and Jairus, this really important man, has to stop. And the disciples, they have to stop. And y'all, there's a Christ that is so involved in your problems. There are going to be moments where it just feels like the world will stop and it's just you and Him. We pick up at verse 25, and we're going to meet this person, this individual who Christ stopped for. Verse 25 of Mark 5, and a woman was there who'd been subject to bleeding for 12 years. She had suffered a great deal under the care of many doctors and had spent all that she had. Yet instead of getting better, she just got worse. And when she heard about Jesus, she came up behind Him in the crowd and touched His cloak because she thought, if I just touch His clothes, I'll be healed. And immediately her bleeding stopped, and she felt in her body that she was freed from her suffering. "Daughter, your faith has healed you. Go in peace." Wow. Who is this woman, right? This woman that is nameless, but showing us such a great example for what we need to do when we ask that question. Does Jesus really care about my problems? There is a great Christian thinker in the 4th century. His name is Jerome. He writes the Bible in Latin, but that's besides the point here. He holds this woman in high honor, in high esteem, because what she represents for the church is every person at some point recognizes this truth. When I exhaust all my resources and things don't get better, then there might be a problem that I'm facing that is beyond my means alone. Like this woman who'd been suffering from 12 years and had given all of her money, I'm sure gave away her retirement, everything that held secure, just so she might be able to get just a bit better. Came to the realization there are some problems too big for just us, even if they look like small problems to other people. And it's through that full surrender that she's not afraid of anything but wants to get as close as she can to Christ. And so if you're sitting there today and you're asking yourself that question, Jesus, do you care? I want to ask you a question. Are you doing everything you can do right now to close the gap between Christ and you? Can you get as close as you possibly can to Jesus? Not that you're going to get close so that He might love you more. Christ loves you enough as it is. Matter of fact, He loves you more than you love yourself. You want to get close to Christ because it's exactly the love that He has for you right now. Work on the proximity. Get as close to Christ as you can. Touch shoulders with Him. Reach out. Is Christ an arm's length away from you right now, Christian? If not, get as close as you can. Full surrender. It's what Jerome highlights from this woman, that every nation, every person of every nation at one point is going to fully surrender. Every knee shall bow and tongue shall confess that He alone is Lord. And so we can speed up that process when we get close to Him. When we ask that question, Jesus, do you care? Go to Jesus. Second thing she does, it's a highlight for us, is that the Christian church, is that she has faith that He has power for the small problems. It does not require a great deal of faith. Christ talks about the faith of a mustard seed, and from that mustard seed, mountains can be moved. And in that same way, too, I think when we have faith, when we really think Christ is able to do what He says He's able to do, we live differently, we walk differently, and we see the miraculous in front of us. Christ cares about you. He hears you, and He sees your problems, and He loves you. This is Pastor Sam. I got a couple things here. Stay holy, keep the faith, and follow for more. We'll see y'all next week. Bye-bye.